And we are live. Let's just give it a moment to load. It's going into YouTube. And we are alrighty. And we're on. All right, so today, happy Saturday. In some places, I think it's Sunday. So whatever day it is, whatever time it is, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Today, we have another show with the very special and one and only Patricia Monna. She's an incredible remote viewer. That's not where her abilities start, and it's not where her abilities end. She has an incredible amount of knowledge and information and wisdom with everything that she's been able to access in this reincarnation. And today, we're going to be focusing on something that both Patricia and I hold information about from completely different angles, but there is a beautiful connection between the two. And it has all to do with the pyramids, with ancient Egypt, with the Sphinx, and really the significance, the energetic significance, the spiritual significance, the physical significance of all of these structures at that point in time when they were constructed, who constructed them, how they did that, and why they built them in the way that they built them. So, Patricia, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And so, before we get into everything, I just want to start on a really foundational sort of idea that I think is important to speak about at this point. And it's about the idea of technology. We've been really programmed to think that technology is a computer or an iPhone or something with wires and man-made electromagnetic fields that have been manipulated to FaceTime and do all that. And that's one side of technology, but real technology is what we held thousands of years ago and what we lost for the purposes of suppressing and controlling mankind, because that real technology and understanding of what technology truly is does have the potential to completely project us into what I would call our destiny if we knew how it all worked. So when we refer to technology, and technology will be spoken about a lot in this show, we're also talking about things like metals and minerals and rocks and stones, things that can conduct electricity and conduct energy, just like they did 4,000 years ago and just like they did 1,000,000 years ago. That's where technology came from. And that's a lot of what we're going to be speaking about today in regards to technology. So I invite you to try and put the current idea and understanding of technology in the back of your mind and try to embrace the idea that technology really comes from an energetic understanding of everything's alive energetically. And just like we're alive, just like we can do certain things, so can a stone, so can a rock. And the understanding of this real principle and foundation is how those beings back in the day built what they built, because of that understanding that everything is alive. And that's what technology truly is. That's where it all comes from. So with that, Patricia, let's start wherever you want to start. We can definitely cross-reference certain things with the Pyramid Code, which is that document that I put out a few months ago. And yeah, just pick your brain on everything, because you really do have a lot of information and knowledge on the matter. So go for it.
Well, I have to say, I have not studied anything about Egypt. I only know what I saw when I was asked to tune in. As you know, I was invited on Gaia, on Gaia TV. And one of the things that they had me do was remote view the Dome of the Rock, as well as the pyramids of Giza. And so what I saw was these pyramids were absolutely superconductors of energy. Energy absolutely would go in through the top of the apex, down through the sides, and out into the earth and the ley lines, the grid on Mother Earth. And I truly believe that these pyramids fed energy to everything from their food sources, their water sources, even their technology that they used back then. And you're absolutely right. Don't think of machines as in cell phones and stuff. Their ancient technology worked off of the elements, the air, the electromagnetic static that was all around them in the air. They knew what they were doing back then. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So if we can, I'd like to start on a foundational idea that was brought up in the pyramid code. It's a simple sentence that I'm going to try to recall off the top of my mind, just to see where you stand on it and what you can elaborate on that. It spoke about and I didn't write the pyramid code, as everybody knows, it was written by somebody else. It was a document that was given to me. So I'm learning about it just like everybody else is. There was a line in there that went something along the lines of, the pyramid was the link that connected the physical to the spiritual, or the physical world, the material world, with the spirit world and the spiritual world. Can you speak more about that? Are you in alignment with that? What does that mean from what you know?
Oh, 100%. It's the cosmic highway. And I truly believe that that's why the kings, it was their tombs. The kings had a certain resonance to them. I believe that they came from a certain race that had pure divine DNA, that the pyramids helped to activate and stay active. And that's why even when they died, they were put in there, is because of the resonance that they embodied. It was a part of their cellular makeup, their structure. And I believe that it is through over time and interracial, couplings and people get coming together that diluted the original resonance of the people who created that. It was all about resonance. Only certain people could go in there when it was active. I truly believe that it had to do with the DNA of the person and how much energy they could withstand going through their body. I think a normal person would have fried in there when it was active.
So based on my knowledge and really sort of learning of all of this part of history, there was, and this is also brought up in the pyramid code, there was something called the Baraka process, Baraka. And specifically in Egypt, in ancient Egypt with the pharaohs and their lineage, that process was something that the pharaohs and their offspring, which were of a different race and a much higher vibrational sort of resonance in their state of being, they all went through that in order to achieve certain things, in order to reach certain things, in order to pretty much reach what you just said. Because if anybody did it, and just like you brought up in the past in a different show, I think that we spoke about with the Dome of the Rock, if a person that wasn't in resonance with the staff or the Ark of the Covenant even touched it, they would fry, because it's too high, it's too much.
Yeah.
So you brought up something really interesting. I want to read something to you because it kind of segues into what you just said.
Okay.
There's a part in the document that says the pyramid is to be used for a number of purposes: protection and eternal, when it was active, of course. Protection, an eternal clock, an eternal calendar, and a tomb for Fatasol, which is what they call that, which is what the author of the pyramid code calls that race when they came in. And he says the following, which is in alignment with what you just said. The pyramids were used as tombs for the purposes of using the divine bodies of those beings as an energetic defense for the pyramids, its entrances, and the instruments that exist within it. Pharaoh and the high priest had an energy within their bodies that is also present after they die, which acts as a protection for the doors and gates of the pyramid.
Yes.
They were intended to be the gatekeepers through the use of internal energy and through preserving their bodies after they died. Normal human beings today do not understand this energy because we cannot measure it. Where do you stand with that?
I 100% agree with that. So it just radiates so much truth with that. And I believe that there is 12 stargates within that pyramid, and those kings, those pharaohs, are guarding them for all of eternity. And I think that people who activate within themselves that dormant DNA, I believe that we could see into those different dimensions. Just because we can't see it with our eyes doesn't mean it's not there, right? So, and it's just like the afterlife. Just because someone passed away doesn't mean that they're just gone and that's it. Heck no, or else I wouldn't have a job as a psychic medium, right? So it's the same thing in there. I truly believe that the spirit of those kings and pharaohs are guarding that stargate for all of eternity. I do believe that.
How do you think the pyramids are affected when they started removing the bodies of those pharaohs and put them in museums?
Well, here's the thing. I think that they dismantled it. I know that they did, because all of it together creates the resonance. So if you start piecing it apart, of course, it's not going to work. But why do you think it is that you are not allowed to chant, hum, sing, meditate, pray in the Great Pyramids? You're not allowed. You know why? Because it's all about resonance. They don't want to take a chance of anyone opening anything. So it's against the law to actually go in these pyramids and to pray or to chant or to hum or sing, because it's all about resonance.
You've spoken about how you, I guess, through remote viewing and how you do that. I'm still gaining a better understanding of how you do what you do, because I find it so interesting that remote viewing, and especially when it comes to you, doesn't just have to do with what you see in this period of time, because it's really like watching everything at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Well, in the Matrix, there's no such thing as space and time. And if you think about it, everything is happening all right now. We can't go back to yesterday and sit in it and play with it or fix it. Same thing with tomorrow. Everything is happening in the eternal now. So when it comes to remote viewing, you can go backwards, forwards, anything that is in the Matrix, that is a memory that happened on this earth. If it happened, chances are I can tune into it.
Okay, so can you tell us more about what you see in regards to the building of the pyramids, how it was done based on what you tuned into?
So
go for it.
It is definitely not what I thought it would be. I don't know, I remember seeing it in books and stuff where they said that they moved the blocks using water and stuff. It was all energy. We're the ones that have lost the abilities within ourselves to be able to move objects, start objects on fire, all of that. It depends on your body's resonance and energy. There are still people out there that can do this stuff. Watch, for anyone who wants to see some really cool superhuman stuff on Amazon Prime, watch Superhuman, making the invisible visible. So amazing, because it showcases all the people that can actually do this stuff.
What kind of things does it show?
It shows kids. The one that blew my mind was it shows kids being completely blindfolded, and they can go through a maze. They can read a book blindfolded.
Wow.
And the coolest thing is, my friend Jen, her boys are in that program now, and she sent me a video of her son Mason doing this. He's 8 years old. And he's literally being able to tell the colors that the woman is showing him, even though he's blindfolded. And he's able to read words out of the book. And that was on the first and second try. So wow. It's us that don't know our capabilities anymore. It has slowly been bred out of us. Right? So how they built this, it was about energy. You know, those magical rods that you talk about that only certain people could touch? Well, it was all about energy. And so the way it was described to me, because I'm no scientist, and to be honest with you, I'm not even all that great with math, but the way it was shown to me, hang on, I got to grab a rock.
Yep.
So we'll say this rock vibrates at a 10. Right? And we know through science that if you throw the same energy at the rock that it is, it will blow up. That's how doctors get rid of kidney stones. They match the vibration of the kidney stone. It oscillates, it blows up, you pee it out. It's the same way seismologists blow out sides of mountains to create a tunnel. They match the vibration of the rock, it blows up, and you move it out, right? So these people knew this stuff. So if this vibrates at a 10 and I want to move it, what I need to do is to apply the pressure of, we'll say, a 12 underneath it, right? And a guide of, we'll say, an 8 on top. And the reason why a 12 and an 8 for a 10, if you think about it, if I throw a 10 at this, it's going to blow up, right? Yeah. So I need a heavier pressure to lift it, such as a 12. And I need a lighter guide than the resonance of the rock in order to put it into place. So they used anti-gravity stuff to be able to move it into place. The reason why it took so long was I truly believe that on certain planetary alignments, like solstices, certain times of year, the energy was way more and they could get way more accomplished because they worked with the energy and the elements of the earth at that time, right? So did that make sense? I know that sounds a little weird.
You just like totally opened something in my mind.
It made sense?
It made a lot of sense, because what you just said, it's so simple. And
it is. And that's why those rods were like a negative and a positive, but that's why only certain people could lift them. And so it would be passed down through the generations, that job would, right? So it was a very skilled task. It was a special honor to be able to build that pyramid. It's all about resonance. All of it is.
Wow, I'm still mind blown by the simplicity of what you just shared.
That's the way they showed me. And you know what the coolest thing is? So my friend Eric, he is an aerospace engineer for the US military. And I described it to him and he said, oh my God, it was like light bulbs going off. He's like, that makes so much sense.
No, it makes so much. I'm not over it. I'm not over it. It makes so much sense.
But it's that simple. So this is where I'm saying, like, we have to think outside the box. They were not box people. We are. We have been conditioned to believe that we're not even capable of telepathy, which to me is the most silliest thing in the world. Of course, we can send and receive signals from the people that we love. Love bridges that gap. It's all energy. Love superpowers our bodies so that we're capable of amazing feats. Think of a mom who, we'll say rushes to get the car off of the baby in superhuman strength. She's able to lift the car off the baby. What is that? Where did that power come from? Yep. Love. Yep. It's the greatest superconductor within our body that there is. So I think that we just need to get back to what's important to us. And it activates every time we do. Every time you allow your body to have that wave of euphoria or wave of happiness, your cells are singing at a much higher vibration, right? That's why some people glow, or you can tell when it's like puppy love, and oh, you're in love, because the energy is different. The auric field around that person is different. They're singing at a higher resonance.
Yep. So, okay, wait. So I want to go somewhere with this. And I didn't even think we would go, but I got to ask you.
Yes.
Back then with their staffs, they had specific staffs that worked with technology, the technology that we brought up in the beginning of this show. It could be through the sun, it could be through whatever they're using. From what I was taught, and also from certain things brought up in the pyramid code, it talks about these staffs not only being able to heal people with diseases or any sort of ailments, but also being able to, so long as the human on the physical level has the ability to do that, it can also assist in the process of shape-shifting. Have you ever heard anything like that? Because I've never spoken to anybody in regards to the connection between staffs and the ability to shapeshift, but I know you have information on that and knowledge on that, so maybe you could share.
Well, it's all about resonance, right? So I truly believe that those staffs could also open up interdimensional travel. Shape-shifting is just changing from one shape to the next. And so back then, and it's a projection of consciousness as well, because you can shapeshift into a bird, but really I look at that as that's projecting your consciousness into the bird. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I know what you mean about shapeshifting, where the actual body.
I'm talking on the physical level. I'm standing here in a matter of a split second, I'm turning into a dog. The reason why I bring this up is because, I know it exists. I'm aware of people.
Yeah, I know it. Yep, I know it definitely exists.
And you explain it with your way, just like you can explain through the simplicity of what you just did, to show why shape-shifting is not this far-fetched, unbelievable
thing. No, it's not.
That can't happen.
It's not.
How can you explain its simplicity?
I've actually witnessed someone shapeshift in front of me, but the way I would describe what I witnessed in this life, it looked like a Snapchat filter coming down over their face, and everything changed about them. To me, it was a little freaky. It made me go, ah, what are you doing? What are you playing with? What are you doing? That ain't no angel stuff. So I don't know. But back then, the energy was so much more powerful. So I have no doubt that they could shapeshift, you know, into a dog or project their consciousness. Because you're right, those are absolutely two different things. One is the physical shift or change. But those staffs, it depends on what you wanted to do with them. They were, you could use them for anything, really. You could use them for healing or harming. You could use them for shape-shifting. You could use them to part the Red Sea, right? Yeah. Like they absolutely for protection, for and it's awful if they get into the wrong hands, because as above, so below, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think it's got to do with resonance. So when it came to you know, physical shape-shifting, I think that it was you're raising your vibration up to hit a certain octave. And on that octave, that's when you change. And nowadays we don't know how to do that, or a lot of people don't know how to do that, because it's like a key. You have to hit a certain note in order to be able to get into that, right? It's dimensions of energy.
So, question while we're on the topic, we're making the differentiation between projecting consciousness in that way of shape-shifting and the physical form of shape-shifting, whereas literally I'm sitting here and I'm turning into either a different person, somebody that speaks a different language, or an animal. Based on what I've learned, and I'm sharing this because I want to see what you think about it, to see where you stand and how you see it. On the physical aspect of shape-shifting, the projecting consciousness aspect, this is the first time I've heard of it. I know of two different types that I'm aware of, at least. One would be the physical aspect of shapeshifting. The other one would be what they call holographic shapeshifting. The physical side of shapeshifting would be pretty much like instantaneous. Yeah. The holographic side of shapeshifting would be a process that you would have to go through over, let's say, a year's period, or however long that may be. And then it goes into what we call holographic memory. Once you go through the process of, let's say I'm an extraterrestrial that's 3 feet tall, and I'm giving you this example because there is one that doesn't live too far from here that did that. Okay. Let's say you're an extraterrestrial that's 3 feet tall, and you're assimilating with humanity. You have to go through a certain holographic process of shape-shifting in order to move forward. He did that. It took him some time. Now he looks like a human being, but after he completed that process of literally changing density, going into a holographic form and coming back into a different density in a different form, now he can do it instantaneously because it's in his sort of energetic and holographic memory. When it comes to the physical side of shape-shifting, what I've been taught, at least, was the instantaneous off the bat without the holographic remembrance and energetic remembrance. You have to be born with some sort of like genetic predisposition in order to do it that way. But the holographic form of shape-shifting, anybody can do it. You just have to learn how to do that. Where do you stand with that? And I know we're coming a little off topic, so we'll go back.
That's okay. Well, I can't really speak to the whole, I've personally shapeshifted because I haven't. But I definitely know how to be able to project my consciousness. Okay. So that I can see a person, place, or thing in the entire universe. And I mean it. Like, I've even had targets that was the Mars rover. So you can go anywhere. It's just an outer body experience, which again, you raise your vibration up, the soul vibration, the internal resonance is raised enough for you to be able to get out and have that astral projection. And there's many different ways to be able to achieve that. It's not impossible. It's just how many people try. Right? I'm teaching a course right now called Quantum Psychic, Decoding the Matrix. And I sent out specific frequencies that induce an outer body experience. And I got a ton of emails the next day going, oh my God, Patricia, it happened. It's real. I'm like, I know, isn't it amazing when it happens? So I encourage people, try it, because you know what? The only difference between a skeptic and a believer is the experience. And when you see how interdimensional, multidimensional you are yourself, you'll understand how this is just the beginning. This used to be taught back then, you know, generation to generation. And so it's all of that stuff that we've lost through the generations, that we don't know how to turn on our DNA. So, and I do think that it is about DNA and resonance. As I've mentioned before, I have something called erythromelalgia, where my sodium channels don't close. And as we know, sodium is a superconductor. So I actually have too much electricity in my body. And I can short out watches. I've actually lit a light bulb up in my hand when I went to go pass it to my husband. It's crazy what you can do when you have that extra electricity going through your body, but it also causes cardiac stuff. So it's not fun. But it leads me to believe, is that why I can do what I do? Because 2 out of 3 of my boys have what I have. They've been diagnosed with it. And those 2, ironically, are very psychic. So it makes me wonder, you know, how much does genetics play a role in our own capabilities?
Do you believe that we today on the collective level, meaning everybody has the potential to reach certain things regardless,
100%.
regardless of their physical DNA?
Absolutely. Everyone's connected to that God source, right? We all have spirit guides. We all have angels. It's just how many people are reaching into that dimension, because the more you use it, the more it comes. It's a muscle, right? We've all had that little hunch that something was going to happen, and then it happened. Take that. Maybe my ability is just that with the lid blown off. I don't know. But every single one of us has it.
Yep. No, I mean, I completely agree with you. We all have that potential. Maybe for others, it may be easier based on where they are, but everybody definitely has the potential to reach.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because vortexes play a role in that as well. So I teach psychic development international retreats, normally down in Sedona, Arizona. And the reason why I pick that retreat center where it is, you know, all the property and everything, is because it's sitting on a vortex right under Cathedral Rock. And it makes it so flippin' easy to be able to teach people how to reach into that interdimension, to be able to dive into their own psychic abilities and turn them up. It where we are in the world, it does play a role in it. Absolutely. I think that places, sacred sites, vortexes, you know, ley lines, the grid, all of that, it provides a different electrical pulse that if you're sensitive to energy, you can feel it and you can work with it.
Yeah, no, 100%. It definitely makes it easier based off of the resonance and energy that you're around and that you're in.
Yeah.
And I've been to Sedona multiple times. It's a magical place.
Isn't it awesome? I love it.
So back to Egypt.
Yes.
Before we go to the Sphinx, my last question for you is, what is your idea, your thoughts, your feelings on the fact that actual pyramids are spoken to be crafts and motherships and UFOs and aspects? Where do you stand with that? Because for a lot of people, I found it, at least on the collective level, very difficult for somebody to understand how dead stone, right, can move and really travel. What does that look like? So where do you stand in regards to that idea?
Well, here's the thing. I never saw it blast off into outer space when I remote viewed it. But one thing that I think maybe is getting lost in translation is the ability to interdimensional travel within that thing. Because when it is on, it was like a cosmic highway going through that thing. Right? It was like a lighthouse straight out into outer space. So I think that it opened up many different gateways, cosmic gateways, stargates, all of that. But I didn't see it like blast off and go into outer space. I think it opens up. What you said, where it is literally the connection between heaven and earth. I absolutely agree with you there, 100%, but I didn't see it blast off into outer space.
The reason why I bring that up is because, again, the person who wrote that document remembers, because he claims to have been in that, have lived a reincarnation through that time, and has access to in-depth memory from that time. He'll literally explain how they come out of the ground that they're on, but the indent in the ground stays the indent in the ground. It's not like it falls in or anything. They go and they come back physically. So that's how he explained it. I don't have memory of anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. I'm just simply going off of what he remembers and what he documented based on that memory. So,
yeah.
You know,
and I mean, it very well could have, I don't know, but possible. I didn't see that.
Anything's possible. 100%. I just like picking your brain about it to see where you can. You know, I like conversations like this because it's never about, well, this is right, this is wrong, this is what happened, and this is what didn't happen. Because, I mean, do we really know? You know what I mean? Everything's possible. We're limited to our current level of awareness of what we remember, what we see. So I just find it so beautiful when, even if you or me or anybody else feels something to be your own truth, it's just so important to be open to others.
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
that helps us expand, you know what I mean? To maybe see things differently. Maybe there's more than meets the eye. Maybe there's more than we thought that we knew. So I always try and stick in that approach instead of sort of identifying and connecting and attaching to, no, this is what I know, this is what happened. Because I mean, it always changes, you know what I mean? So.
Oh, absolutely.
All righty, you want to go to the Sphinx? I know you're an expert with that one, so yeah.
I wouldn't say an expert. I just know what I saw. So with the Sphinx, what is the importance of them? I believe that they were guarding the underworld, and when I remote viewed it, I actually saw two, not just one. I believe that the one that's left over is the right one. The left one was destroyed. And what I saw that each Sphinx actually had a crown on the top of their head with a metal rod going through the top of the head. And I believe that this was all about current, about electricity. As we know, metal conducts, so it was bringing down the energy in through the ley lines. But I believe that they were the guardians of the underworld. And I also believe that, or I saw that about 6,000 feet under the second toe of the right paw, there's ancient technology buried under there that I believe.
Second toe of the right paw. Okay.
Yeah. So yes.
Second
toe. I know. I'm trying to visualize. Like, yeah, that's where I saw it. Second toe of the right paw. They're about 6,000 feet underneath that. There is ancient technology that helps to power the power grid all around that area. One thing that I saw was the crown actually broke. I heard a huge rumble, and I could feel the ground shake. And then I saw it looked like lightning going through the crown, going through the metal rod through the top, and it split the crown in two, and they fell. And what's interesting is I was supposed to be going to Egypt in June of this year, but due to the lovely virus, I'm not going anywhere. And one of the Egyptologists that was facilitating the retreat, I told him about this because he asked me to remote view it and what it looked like back then. And so I asked him about the metal rod and the crown, and his jaw was on the floor. He's like, Patricia, no one knows about that. And he goes, and I can personally attest to that there was a metal rod up there. He goes, because I was one of the, I was part of the group that actually sealed it. So he knew exactly what I was talking about when I mentioned it. Yeah.
Why did they seal it? For aesthetic purposes or other purposes?
They pulled it apart. They don't want it to work. I think that if people knew what our pyramids were capable of, we'd be blown away. There is so much that is hidden in plain sight. And I think that they don't want this technology on this earth anymore. I think that they've completely capped it so that these interdimensional highways are closed. That's what I think.
with technology, back to that, I want to bring up another aspect of it that I've spoken about in the past, but I think it's important to bring up again. Even numbers, because numbers are frequency, numbers are vibration, numbers are resonance. That's also a part of technology, and numerology is also a very big part in, from my understanding at least, a big part in the building of those pyramids and those shapes of those pyramids. Yes. So it's like anywhere from the number of vertices, 5, to the number of sides, which were those 4 sides, to, well, really 5 sides, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in the bottom. And if you really want to get into it, it's actually 10, because it's outer surfaces, which is 5, and then inner surfaces, which is another 5. That 10, for example, represents the resonance of giving. And I get that from what they used back in the day to build those things, which is part of what they used was what we call gematria. So gematria is actually associated today with what they call Hebrew, and Hebrew is associated with the Jewish people, but that's not true. If you go actually back in history, to the real history, not the history that they teach us in our textbooks, because that's really a misguided history for certain purposes. But history of what happened back then was, Hebrew is not a Jewish language. It was a language that was adopted by the Jewish people when they turned into that nation. But the pharaohs used it, and it was used before then as well. I don't know when it was created, but it's not a religion language. It's a divine language based on numbers and understanding energetic, real foundations of Earth and the universe. So even if you go to, for example, the actual building of that pyramid, the number 5 represents godly light or power, which is the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Again, not a Jewish thing, just the resonance of even the shape of the letter. It's all built into an understanding that's way beyond my comprehension. I'm not there, but the basic understanding is gematria is pretty much this expression of an energetic code that allows us to do certain things, allows us to activate certain things. And that code was used to build these structures to do exactly what Patricia and many others are sharing, to connect the spirit world and the physical world, to connect everything, because everything is really one, instead of this divisive and separated reality that we've been taught to experience. So I just bring that up because numbers are technology. And
absolutely.
One of the things that were actually, there was some backlash on when the Pyramid Code document came out, was the number of pyramids that used to be on Earth. And that number, according to the person who wrote it, was 666,666. And everybody said, wait a minute, this is satanic. You're representing the devil, you're evil, you're whatever. And what I tried explaining was, no, everything has been turned around to keep us away from the vibrations, from the energies, from the technology, because numbers are technology, that can help us. 666, when you add it up, equals 18. 18, if you take that divine language that we spoke about, not the Jewish language, the language that the pharaohs used, the word life is made up of 2 letters. And if you convert those 2 letters to their respective numbers according to the code of gematria, you're going to get 10 and 8. That gives you 18. Life is the resonance of 18, and 18 is the resonance of life. So today, the genius of all these people controlling us is they've taken 666 and they've made us afraid of it. Just like they've taken 13, which, by the way, if you take in that divine language the word love, it's made of 4 letters. If you add those 4 letters, you get 13.
Wow.
We've been taught that it was unlucky. It's almost like they told us that an apple is bad for us and French fries are good for us. And we really believe it. You know? So totally. I just thought I would bring that up again, because the numerology behind the structures,
they're brilliant.
It's technology in and of itself. It's what allows us to do what we do. So that 666,666 is really life 2 times. That's all it is. And if you break up life, it's 8 and 10. 8 represents infinity. Look at the shape, by the way. 10 represents giving. By the way, the word in Hebrew, 10, means to give. So life is infinite giving. So it's this breaking down of everything that we're not aware of today, that I just think is so beautiful when we really see it, and when we reclaim the energy and the vibrations and the frequencies that we've been taught were evil. By the way, take evil 666 and spell it backwards. It spells live.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's all right here. And like you said, it's all in plain sight.
Yeah,
you know, it's
absolutely.
unbelievable.
Speaking of hidden in plain sight. So I think that one of the reasons why those crowns had to be broken at that time too, was on certain times of the year, solstices, equinoxes, that crown would cast a shadow, and that shadow would lead to the specific stargate that was right corresponding with the crown. So there's a lot hidden in plain sight, and with them, it's hidden in nature. It's hidden in the elements. It's all right there. They were masters of the elements. I saw this one guy when I was remote viewing. It was almost like he was singing a high-pitched song, but that no one could hear. But all of a sudden, these birds were flocking in, and I saw the cows flocking in. It was like, wow, you guys are geniuses. So they worked with nature. They were one with the elements, one with nature. And I think that's what we've lost. We've lost that touch, you know, because spirit works through animals. Animals have such a high vibration, a pure heart, that it's easy for spirit to work through animals and give us a sign. You know, we are the ones that have lost the language of love that reaches into the other dimensions.
How do you think we can, what steps can we take? I know you're really good with that. You're a great teacher with everything that you do.
Oh, thank you.
What do you think we can do to move forward? I know you shared tips in the past. What else do you think we can do to move forward and reclaim our true power, our divinity, our potential, our awareness, everything?
Well, I think that first of all, we need to remember that the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's not outside of you. And if you think about where are you right now? Are you sitting in a state of depression, anxiety? Because neither of those are real anymore. It's just a frame of mind. I heard the best saying that kind of sums it up, and it says, depressed people live in the past, anxious people live in the future, peaceful people live in the present. And it is so unbelievably true. Turn off the shitty committee, turn off the noise and the worry about tomorrow. And I promise, get back into now, feel your body, you know, and look at your surroundings and appreciate what's in front of you, because tomorrow is not promised. And when we delve into ourselves, I promise you, other things start to open up. You get to see the magic in every single moment. Life gets good when you meditate, when you pray, when you get back to you and the purpose that your soul has been brought here to attain, right? We're all here with very specific abilities, very specific gifts. It's just who's in touch with it nowadays, right?
Do you have any tips for others of how to, a few questions that I think you would probably have great answers to. How do you realize those gifts, and how do you kind of come to alignment with whatever your purpose is? How do you come to, I think that's a massive question today. How do I know my purpose? How do I know why I came here?
So what fuels you? Your passion and your purpose are married. They are one and the same. So when you were a kid, what did you love to do? What stood out to you? What made your soul on fire? And even now as an adult, what do you love to do? What could you get lost in? Could you get lost in painting and singing, in making a beautiful piece of furniture? What do you love to do? Follow your heart. Because when we hate what we're doing for 8 to 10 hours a day, how do you punch out and turn on the happy switch just because you clocked out? You can't. It takes hours to come down from a bad mood and a bad day and to shake off, you know, the crap of what happened at an office. You know what I mean? Get back to what do you love. When you do what you love, you glow from the inside out. Your life takes on a life of its own. It really does. The universe will show you one step. You have faith that leads to a next step. Have faith that leads to the next one. So there's nothing that you can't build when you have faith that tomorrow it's going to be better, and not just better, but attainable. Make goals. Make goals, little ones, big ones. Make goals. What do you love to do? Get your resonance up by doing what you love, by listening to also what you love. Guard your consciousness, because if you're listening to hardcore negative music, what do you think is getting trapped in your head when you're trying to concentrate on something else? We all know how easy it is to get a song stuck in our brain, right? Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with self-defeating thoughts or negative music. Gets ingrained in there, and then how do you get rid of it? How do you shut it off? Get back into what you love, get grounded, get into the here and the now, and everything will unfold when you do.
Can you give any steps or tips on, there may be some, and I'm bringing this up because I was that person as well, where I asked somebody that question, I received a similar answer, but I didn't know, I was at a point where I didn't know how to feel. You know, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't really know what that meant. For me, I started, I mean, this was just my own experience in my own way, but I really isolated from people for a little bit. And I started reading, I started writing. Writing helped me a lot. And I didn't know what I was going to write. I had no idea. My friend, I remember, he was sitting down and I saw him writing on his notes on his iPhone. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm writing a diary. And I'm like, isn't a diary supposed to be handwritten? But that's how he did it. So I started that way. And then that evolved into a diary that now I have like 7 of them that are full. Yeah. But that's personally what helped me a lot. Is there anything that helped you realize your purpose? I don't know too much of your past of, well, I know your past of like what you've done, and all that, but was there ever a point where you really were in a lost place? And
yeah.
What steps did you take to find yourself and reach the place that you're in today?
So I can honestly say I spent most of my life in depression and anxiety. I never felt like I fit in here ever. And it wasn't until I actually stepped into doing this, which you heal in yourself, you eventually heal in another. And so the greatest thing that you can do is concentrate on your own healing. And the funniest thing, so for me, remember when you mentioned September 9th okay, so that was the day that changed my life, September 9th, 2004. My father was killed in a workplace accident down in Vancouver, Washington. And it completely destroyed me. Like I couldn't get out of bed. He was my best friend. I took care of him. I did everything for him. He was my best friend. And so when he died, I felt completely lost, very angry at God, wanted nothing to do with spirituality. And I sunk further and further. And I remember even going to a psychologist and getting mad at her because I was like, I'm spending $150 an hour and I'm not feeling any better. And now that I'm on the other side of that, I think, wow, how horrible of me to project that onto her. I took no responsibility for my healing. I just wanted someone else to tell me how to do it. I wanted someone to take my hand and do it for me. We can't. We have to go within ourselves. We have to examine the depths of our own soul to find out what makes us tick, because each and every one of us is needed here. Your divine design signature, right? Just think, if at one point you would have decided to check out, look at all the people that you've affected change in their life, right? It's the same thing as me. I had one suicidal thought after the next when I was a teenager, all the way into my 20s. And I just think to myself, wow, I found 29 missing people that the police at the time couldn't find. What would have happened if I wouldn't have been here, if I would have just ended my story there? We are here to create. And no matter how much life beats the crap out of us, we have to rise. There is always a tomorrow that can be better than today. We have to create it. We have to take responsibility for our healing, right? One of the greatest books that helped me change my mind was Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. Yep. That book, hands down, best book in the world. So if you're really lost, Conversations with God.
It's incredible. That book, first of all, thank you for sharing what you just shared. You gave me the chills multiple times. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. It's tough. Like, but the thing is, people got to realize it doesn't matter how much we may look like we have our act together. We're human. We have our issues. We're not above the issues and what's going on out there. Oh, and I do want to say something. I got to tell you, I've been seeing a lot of this lately. There is an attack on men's mental health, like you wouldn't believe, like a spiritual attack. So if you're a man out there listening to this, I need you to be hyper aware of the thoughts that are going through your head. Negative energy is out there just as much as angels and God and everything else is out there, right? Even aliens exist in another dimension. Well, one thing that I have noticed is that there is an energy that is sticking to males' auric fields. And it's a heavy energy that will almost make you feel like you have negative thoughts on a feedback loop that you cannot get out of your head. And it's, I don't want to be here. Screw this. I can't do it anymore. And no, I'm worthless. All of those self-talk. If you hear that going on inside of your brain, take a step back. Understand, would you talk to yourself like that? Because if you wouldn't talk to yourself, you got to understand there is a spiritual war that is happening right now. And the number one way this stuff gets to us is through our consciousness, because it's our consciousness that lives on long after this body, right? We are spirit having a human experience.
Yep.
So guard your consciousness. Start examining every thought that's going through your head. If it's feeling heavy and negative, examine it, get it out. Breathe in light. Call upon your warrior angels to come and transmute that energy. Get it out of your auric field. Literally breathe light into your body. One of the greatest things that you can do is visualize every pore on your body, because your skin breathes, right? Visualize every pore on your body opening up to the light, and breathe it into your body and exhale out all darkness until you breathe the light in and exhale the light out. That is how you can cleanse your auric field and body really quickly. So there's a war on guys' consciousness. You guys just heads up on that. I've seen it quite a bit. Yeah, it's not a good energy out there. So guard yourself.
You know, first of all, thank you for that. Yeah, these past like 2 days, I've been like all over the place in my head, and I just needed to take a step back. But yeah, I always try to share that. Like you said, it may look like we have ourselves together, but you know, everybody's a human. We all have feelings. We all go through what we go through, no matter who you're talking to, no matter how many people you're impacting or whatever it may be. I have my emotional and mental breakdowns always, you know what I mean? And it's part of the process. It's part of being human. It's part of growth. It's part of ascension. Sometimes it brings you down. Sometimes it knocks you out, puts you in bed for a day, and it's all good. But I always try and share the fact that, like, I mean, it happens to everybody, you know what I mean? So
you know
thank you for sharing that as well, because it's important for everybody to know that.
I think one other thing that I just wanted to say about that, if we didn't go through it, we would not be able to say the most healing words in the world. And those are the words, me too. Without the experience, we got no right to lay claim to those words. And so sometimes we got to go through it first so that we can turn around and light the way for others. So no matter what you're going through right now, reach out, talk about it, get it out of you, transmute that, listen to high vibe music, get out into nature and ground yourself. Do you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's so important. That's where I see, for me personally, one of the things that I do a lot beyond grounding barefoot on grass and nature is writing. Because I see writing, for me, maybe not for everybody, but for me, writing has been like a detox of the mind. Nice. It's almost like there's so many things here, and I take it, I put it on a piece of paper. And sometimes when I really want to transmute something, I write everything that I want to transform, and then I burn it.
Yay! Yeah, me too.
Fire, right? We've been taught that fire is this destructive energy, and it's not.
It transmutes.
Exactly. It's a transformative energy. And that's how I see it. That's why I use it in that way. So it's funny that you bring that up, because every month on our Patreon community, where you were on just last month or this month, right?
This month, yeah.
This month.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So every month we have a topic, a different thing that we're going to focus on. And next month is all about like emotional and physical cleansing and just how to move through that. We're actually doing a 3-day interactive guided detox. So it's in honor of the equinox that's coming up on March 20th.
Nice. Yeah.
So every 3 months, I usually do it on my own. And I thought on every equinox and solstice, and I thought it would be nice to do like a community-wide thing. So
nice.
I mean, it's so in alignment with what's going on right now, because there's a lot of heavy energy and there's and like everything's been building and we've been learning and we've been growing and obstacles and challenges and all these things. And it's like, okay, now let's press the reset button and let's start over with everything that we took, not to throw it away, but to take those lessons and to use them as tools to continue our ascension and our growth. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally in alignment with what you're saying.
Nice. I'll have to join you.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. All right. Is there anything else you want to share before we bring this to a close, Patricia?
Just thank you so much for having me on here and giving me a chance to explain what I saw. I just think it's such an honor to know you, Jason. Thank you.
You as well. Seriously. Listen, I really enjoy the energy between us when we do our shows. I love our conversations always, and I'm happy to do this always, because I think that you're a voice that the world needs to hear. You have a lot to offer to humanity, and I'm happy in any way that I can to help your voice be heard to anybody around the world. So thank you. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
For doing everything that you do and sharing your time with us and your information with us and just everything that you have with us. I appreciate it. And I speak on behalf of our entire community. We all appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jason. It's been an honor.
All righty. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your weekend wherever you are in the world. And Patricia, we will be doing this again at some point. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, you guys. God bless.